know if it's in education, that sense of urgency. And I know that we feel that a lot at the State Department. Oftentimes you already feel behind in something before you start it. And I know that districts and schools, particularly that are in improvement, feel a huge sense of urgency to get something in place, right, to support students. But we have to understand that systems aren't built overnight, and they obviously weren't broken overnight, right, if there's need to be some repair within different systems. So I think that the advice I would give is really thinking about the stages of implementation. And it doesn't mean that you have to go big or go home. Mm-hmm. I think it's about thinking about a practice or practices that you want to implement, right? So let's say, like social emotional support right now, huge with COVID-19 for students and for teachers, for schools, for districts, that it doesn't mean that you have to kind of implement a series of practices overnight, right? Maybe it's just a piece of a practice or a part of it where you can go through exploration pretty quickly. You can get some training and coaching ready and installation, and you can be in initial implementation fairly quickly with something that and that kind of feeds a little bit that sense of urgency of like, we're starting to do something. But then in other parts, you can think more comprehensive, like, okay, we've got this one practice going, then now let's step back, and we know that we need more support in this area. So you have to kind of go back to exploration and think about, where do we need, let's look at our data, where do we need more support for our teachers or students, and think about something more comprehensive and maybe go a little bit slower there. So I don't think it's like you have to do all of the work slowly. I think that districts struggle with that all the time. So I say, like, what piece can we get moving that we feel pretty secure about so that we can spend time, doing larger work while part of it's going. And, I would say something I've learned, particularly over the last 3 years for sure, is really make sure what you're going to do is well defined for leadership. That I think where I've seen initiatives fail the most is where we have a general idea, like we're going to implement something around social emotional learning, but we don't really define what that it is, particularly if it's something new that we're trying to innovate within our district. Then people get really unclear of what are we implementing? How, even the how becomes tricky, but if you don't know the what and it's not clearly defined, right, of like, here's the core components, here's what it would look like if it was implemented well, it becomes really hard to get to any type of fidelity, and people get frustrated really quickly.